Hi class, welcome to our second lesson on chapter 7. We're on section 7.2. What we're going to be doing in this lesson is we're going to be graphing polynomial functions using our graphing calculator and looking at the information that's given on our graphing calculator to make certain conclusions. So make sure that you get your graphing calculator out. You cannot do this lesson without a graphing calculator. So if you have to pause the video to go get your graphing calculator, please do so because you will need it. So on this very first three, I guess, it says use your graphers to graph and find the zeros. So class, what our zeros are is where does the function cross the x-axis at. If here's my xy coordinate grid, we might have a polynomial function that looks something like this. So where are our zeros at? There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are going to be our zeros of our function, and we're going to use our graphing calculator to find those zeros. So this one might be, for example, a negative 4, 0. It's when our y is 0. This one right here might be at a negative 1, 0, so on and so forth. So it's always going to be when our y is 0. So what we're going to do here, take out your calculator and put this into your graphing calculator. Y equals x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 4x squared minus 4x. So we got our y equals x to the 4th plus x cubed and then we have minus 4x squared minus 4x. And now we're going to press graph. So as you can see, we have a polynomial function here. If we were to take a look at this instinctively, where would we say our zeros are? 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I would first start off doing, class, is let's just see if they are at nice, convenient, ordered pairs. And the way you do that is you go to your table. So the graph button, the table is the blue part right above it, so you're going to go to second graph, which is your table. And like I mentioned earlier here, your zeros are when your y is 0. What does your x equal? X might equal negative 4, x might equal negative 1, so on and so forth. So you want to see what is your x when your y is 0. So find when y is 0. For this particular one, there should be 4 of them when y is 0. Like I said, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So let's see if there are 4 zeros that show up in our table when y is 0. Alright, you have one of them right here. At 2, 0, that's one of our zeros. Keep on scrolling up. We have 2, 0, 0, 0, a negative 1, 0, and a negative 2, 0. And there's our 4 zeros. They all fall on nice, convenient ordered pairs. They're all integers, so this makes it nice and simple. So our answers, what are our zeros? Our zeros are a negative 2, negative 1, and 0. And then we have this positive 2. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, positive 2. So that's going to be your answer for the first one. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, and a positive 2. These are your x's. So hopefully that makes sense. This is the most basic type of one where they all fall on nice integer ordered pairs. Looking at number 2, this one is going to be slightly more difficult. So let's put this into our graphing calculator. X cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x plus 2. So go to your y equals button again. Clear what was ever in there. And now we're going to put in x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x plus 2. Alright, now when we press graph here, we're going to see what we have a look at. If you can notice on this one, there are 3 zeros that we should get. Okay? So we should always have, the number of zeros is the times it crosses the x-axis. This crosses 3 times, so we should have 3 zeros. If you kind of look at this one, It might not appear that this crosses at a nice convenient point, but we could take a look by going to our table. It wouldn't take very long. So go to second table. Is there a time when your y is 0? So as we keep on going down, negative 32, negative 7, 2, 1, negative 4, negative 7, negative 2, 17, 56. It doesn't look like we're ever going to get an opportunity to have a nice convenient ordered pair where our 0 is a nice integer number. And that's more likely going to be the case with our worksheet. That means you're just going to have some decimal answers as zeros, which is just fine. So looking at this one, if I want to find where those 3 zeros are, if they're not a nice ordered pair, I need to use a different function on our calculator, and that's going to be the calculate button. If you see the 5 buttons on the top, the trace is the 4th button, and right above that trace button is the calculate. That's the button that we're going to need to push. So what you're going to press here is you're going to press second and then trace, which is the calculate button. You get a menu. What you want to calculate here, class, is you want to calculate a 0. So you're going to press number 2 or scroll down to number 2 and press enter. So now your calculator is going to calculate a 0. And the way you do that, as you can see, my cursor is right here right now. I'm not sure where yours is, but wherever yours is, find it. And what it asks for is it asks for a left bound, question mark. So what your calculator wants from you is it wants your cursor to go to the left bound part of that 0. So the 0 that we want to find is right here. So go left of that. And I understand that this might look below it, but we're always talking left to right here. So picture a line going from left to right. You want to get left of that 0. And my cursor is slightly left of the 0, so I'm going to press enter right here. I press enter, and now it asks for a right bound. So you want to get to the right of the 0. So I'm going to press the right button a few times, and right here, approximately, I am now right of my 0. Okay? I went past my 0, and now I am right of it, so I'm going to press enter again. Now it tells you to guess. So what your calculator wants you to do is it wants you to put your cursor as close as you can to right on top of that 0. Sometimes you can get it very close. Other times you could hit it right on the money. Try to get as close to that 0 as possible and enter one more time. And now your calculator spits out where that 0 is. That 0 is right here. When y is 0, x is at a negative 0.39. So that's going to be our very first answer on problem number 2, a negative 0.39. A negative 0.39. Now remember, class, you have to find as many zeros as that function has. So going back to our calculator, we still have 2 more zeros. There's one right here, and there's one right here. So we're just going to repeat this process 2 more times. So let's find the second 0. Once again, you go to the calculate button. So second trace, which is calculate. Go down to number 2, we're calculating a 0. Now we want to put our cursor so that it's left bound of our 0. It's on the left side of our 0. So our 0 is approximately right there. We want to get to the left of it. So right about there is a good spot to put your cursor, and now you're going to press enter. Now you're going to, the calculator asks for a right bound, so you're going to scroll right a couple times. And there we have it. Press enter. Guess, try to put your cursor right on top of that 0 or as close to it as you possibly can. I'll put it right there, and our calculator determines it is at 1.23. Round to the nearest hundredth on these if you can, class. 1.23 is going to be the answer when y is 0. So another answer, 1.23. All right, you're 2/3 of the way done. We still need one more 0. So our 0 for our third one. You're going to go to second. Oh, I went to second graph, which is the table. Go to second, calculate. Sorry about that, class. Go down to number 2, which is our 0. And our third one, you're going to press right a couple times to get to it. And I have to go left of that 0. So right about here might be a good spot. Press enter. Now you want to go right of that 0. So this one we might not be able to get very close, but that's okay. Our calculator should still be able to determine. Now we're going to guess, so try to put it right on. It looks like that's as close as I can make it, so I'm going to press enter one more time. And sure enough, it gives us our 0 at 4.16 is where we have another y coordinate of 0. So 4.16 is our third and final 0. 4.16. All right, so that's how you do number 1 and 2. Number 1, you try to use your table. Number 2, if you can't use your table, you're going to use the calculate button. So why don't you guys try number 3, pause the video, and afterwards see how you came up with, see how your answers compared with mine. All right, after working this one out on your own, hopefully for number 3, you got 3 zeros. Those zeros are at a negative 3.62. The next one is at a negative 1.38. And our third zero is at a positive 1. So I'm not going to take the time to go through that on the video. I trust that you got the right answers on your own. If you did not get those 3 answers, be sure to ask me in class tomorrow so that we can go through those more in depth, or else I could work with you using your graphing calculator. It might be beneficial for us to do that if you don't quite get those exact same answers.